Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Miami Sports Report. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to one of my associate producers. This is Shaggy, the cat. Shaggy was very instrumental in a lost remote crisis earlier before I started filming, so I told him that he could be on today's show, so you'll be seeing him up here. On today's show, we cover some job losses in the Dolphins front office, recap the week for the Heat and the Panthers, and do a story about arena funding. So, let's just jump right in. Last week, the Dolphins played... Oh, wait. Yes, that's right, we are knee-deep into yet another Dolphin-less playoffs. The offseason has brought about job changes in the Dolphins front office, some of which were screamed for loudly by Dolphins fans. We're not going to spoil the lead, so we're going to start with the smaller of the main changes. Last week I mentioned that offensive coordinator Mike Sherman was on the hot seat. The Fins offense scored one touchdown in their last two critical games, and as I said, there were those in the organization who felt that quarterback Ryan Tannehill had to graduate from his former college coach. Well, that was apparently the prevailing view, as head coach Joe Philbin was forced to fire his longtime mentor on Monday. Quarterback Tannehill sounded unimpressed with the offense in a recent interview with USA Today. Other players on the team apparently wanted Sherman out, and Philbin was very likely faced with the choice of firing his mentor or losing his own job. Yes, by firing Sherman, Philbin has probably bought himself one more season. So why do I say likely when Philbin hasn't been fired yet, and other teams that fired their coaches are already hiring new ones? Because the Dolphins have finally made the move that fans have been begging for years and years. Yes, on Wednesday, the Miami Dolphins fired general manager Jeff Ireland. Well, sort of. For whatever reason, the team characterized the move as a mutual parting of ways. But don't be fooled. Inside sources with the team indicate that if Ireland had chosen to stay, he would have been stripped of any personnel power and basically been reporting to a higher-up who would have been the true GM. Ireland, still having at least a shred of self-dignity, chose to leave. The search for the Dolphins' next GM is already well underway, with a list of candidates identified and interviews having started last Friday. There was a moment of controversy when the Fritz-Pollard Alliance, famous for complaining that minority candidates weren't interviewed, advised their candidates not to interview for the Fins job. There was an impression that the Fins were hiring someone for the position that Ireland turned down, a powerless GM reporting to someone higher up. However, owner Steve Ross has since said that he is hiring somebody for the position Ireland was fired from, not the job he turned down. The new general manager will have full authority in selecting players for the roster. However, he reserved authority over Coach Philbin and other front office personnel. There's a bit of concern over what keeping Philbin will do to the Dolphins general manager search. GMs basically want to be presidents of football operations with authority over those types of decisions. However, any candidate that the Dolphins hire as their new general manager will have to accept that they are not king of the mountain, having to share authority with people that they do not have the authority to fire. Now, the list of candidates is a little amorphous at this point, but I will give you one to keep your eye on. Dawn Aponte, the Dolphins' current executive vice president of football operations. Aponte would be the first female general manager in NFL history. Now, the prevailing idea is that while she is a serious candidate, she needs a bit more experience in the area of player evaluation until she's ready for the big chair. Well, the tumult in the Dolphins front office has pushed back the Dolphins' year in review, so we'll be seeing that next week. Unless the Dolphins make some hires, in which case, well, we'll just see, won't we? Thanks to the recent polar vortex, there wasn't a lot of heat to be felt around the country this past week. It was even down in the 20s here in southern Georgia. But one place that there was some heat to be felt was the basketball court. 4 games this week for the Heat, so let's warm ourselves up with some nice Miami basketball. The Heat started the week just like the calendar does, on Sunday, taking on the Toronto Raptors. LeBron James took control, scoring 30 points. Wade scored 14, and it was Michael Beasley in the third spot, scoring 17 off the bench. Despite LeBron's scoring, the Raptors kept things close, but lost their 14th straight to the Heat, 102-97. 2 nights later, the Heat found themselves facing a name I'm still getting used to, the Pelicans. 3 guesses who led the Heat in scoring, and the first 2 don't count. LeBron scored 32 in this game, with Wade behind him with 22. Chris Bosh scored 12, and Birdman Anderson led the bench with 15. The Heat were never really challenged and beat the Pelicans 107-88. On Thursday, the Heat headed to New York to face off with the Knicks. LeBron, 32 points, yada yada. Wade had 23, and Norris Cole started at the other guard and scored 12. But the Heat went with a short bench, and the bench only scored 13 points. The Knicks were able to outscore the Heat and won 102-92. The next night, the Heat headed to nearby Brooklyn to face the Nets. The teams wore nickname jerseys in this game, so let's refer to the Heat players by their nicknames. No surprise, King James led the Heat again with 36 points. Coltrane was behind him with 18 points, and Sweet Lou had 12. The Heat went with a notoriously thin 3-player bench, and that bench came up with a grand total of 10 points. With D. Wade resting, King James just couldn't provide enough offense. It took 2 overtimes, but the Nets also outscored the Heat 104-95. Well, my prediction from last week failed to come through as the Heat hit 10 losses before they hit 30 wins. After back-to-back losses in the Big Apple, the Heat now find themselves with a record of 27 wins and 10 losses. Does the schedule shape up any better for them next week? Let's take a look. The East Coast road trip continues for the Heat, but the schedule does seem to lighten up a bit. On Wednesday, the Heat head to Washington, and Friday and Saturday bring another back-to-back in Philadelphia and Charlotte. Hey Shaggy, look, a kitty. Shaggy's sleeping. Anyway, the weather was much more fitting for hockey, so let's switch over to the Panthers. The Cats continued their fight to get the record up closer to 500 before the Olympic break. Were they able to help with this week's set of 3 games? Let's find out. Just another manic Monday for the Panthers, who started the week facing Montreal. Low-scoring, goalie-focused game. The Canadiens started the scoring early in the first, but the Panthers tied it up late as Sean Bergenheim scored. Montreal got a goal late in the second, and though the Cats threw 16 shots at the Montreal net in the third, none of them found their way in. Cats fall 2-1. After a couple of nights off, the Panthers were back on the ice Thursday facing the Buffalo Sabres. This was another low-scoring affair. Nothing in the first. The Sabres activated the scoreboard early in the second, but Brad Boyes would score midway through the third, tying the game at 1. No scoring in OT, leading to the shootout. And it was Boyes in the third round who found the net, giving the Panthers a 2-1 win. That win pushed the Panthers up to 40 points. Would they be able to push past that number on Saturday when they face the Devils? Only the informative graphic knows for sure. It's games on even-numbered days week for the Panthers. After getting Sunday the 12th off, they play on Tuesday the 14th against the Islanders, Thursday the 16th against the Sharks, and Saturday the 18th in Carolina. For our featured story, we're going to be staying with the Panthers. You know how in the MLS Miami story I've mentioned that David Beckham's group is going to be privately financing their stadium? And that part of the reason for that was that the Marlins Stadium deal was so shady that it poisoned the public against stadium funding so much that the Dolphins have lost out on numerous championship games because they can't get funding to revamp Sun Life Stadium approved? Well, apparently the Panthers are hoping that that poison doesn't extend north of Dade County. The Panthers are asking Broward County to rewrite their contract on the BB&T arena, granting them an additional $70 million. The team claims they're losing between $20 and $30 million a season and need to transfer some arena costs to the county. The $185 million arena was built in 1998, and the team says that the current contract no longer fits their needs. Currently, the county pays $8 million per year towards the debt on the arena. with the state covering $2 million and the Panthers $4.5 million. Under the new deal, the county would cover the Panthers' annual payment, increasing Broward's annual commitment to $12.5 million. In exchange, the Panthers would immediately pay back $10.6 million in loans from the county and keep contributing $500,000 to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. The Cats also want to trade 12 acres of land south of the arena for 22 acres north of it and hope to build a casino hotel, should the state approve such a thing, or some other type of business if they don't, to increase the tax revenue of the arena land. Here's the most interesting part. The Panthers also would commit to investing in hockey team payroll at a level competitive with the rest of the National Hockey League. I can't tell if that's a threat or a promise not to pull a Marlins. If I was Broward County, I would want that part in writing, with a percentage of average NHL payroll defined. Anyway, as much as I personally support the Panthers, I can't see why the county should take this deal. My understanding may be basic, but the way I see this, the county would benefit for about 2 years before the increase in their payment would override the amount that the Panthers are paying back right now. The Panthers want to trade 12 acres of land for 22 acres of land and just give up on their contribution to the arena entirely. Now, the one area where this does make sense is that apparently the hotel tax that the county uses to fund their contribution to the arena is making more money than they were expecting. So maybe a rewrite is in order. And the Panthers are the only professional sports team playing in Broward County. The Dolphins very, very nearly do, but just barely don't. So there's concern all the way around about getting a deal done that makes everybody happy. But I don't think the Panthers are going to get the deal they're asking for. It just sounds a little too good. Well, that is going to do it for another edition of the Miami Sports Report. Please make sure to like the video by clicking the like button right down below and leave us a comment or a question while you're down there. Please subscribe to our new channel, the Miami Sports Report, and share this video with all of your Miami sports loving friends. And make sure to find us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you so much for watching. Please enjoy Bumbles and Bumbles, and until next time, go Miami! Bye! On today's report, we cover the dagnap helping me find the lost remote. My associate producer is sleeping. I'll just have to press on without you. He would be stripped of any personnel power and be reporting to a higher-up. Because the team has made but I will give you one candidate to keep your eye on. Dawn Dagnabbit drops the remote. GMs tend to want to be basically presidents of football. The weather was much more fitting. I'm looking all over the place. The Cats were looking to get their record up to 500. Nope. The Panthers say they're losing between $20 and $30 million a season and need to scratch their nose.